So you're praising FDR there. I take it you're praising the setting up of internment camps for Japanese during World War II?
No, I'm not. Take a look at presidential proclamations 25, 25, 25, 26, and 25, 27, having to do with alien Germans, alien Italians, alien Japanese. I mean, what they did. You know, they stripped them of their naturalization proceedings. They went through a whole list of things.
Donald Trump touched a nerve recently, shocking indeed, when he told Time magazine that he wasn't sure if he would have supported or opposed the internment of Japanese Americans during the Second World War. Good reason. It remains one of the deepest racial scars on American history and still resonates to this day as something the word despicable does not begin to describe. So much so that then President Ronald Reagan signed legislation in 1988 that officially apologized to every single person who was displaced. But here's a question. How much does the current generation even know about what happened? And is this chapter in our history still a sore spot with the current generation of those with Japanese heritage? Our guest was born in Japan, now covers news and issues at the Washington Times. Welcome Yuki Oikawa to the Hardline. Yuki, I want to thank you so much for joining us because this is a question that many of us have. You were born in Japan, you came to America 25 years ago. To the Japanese people of that generation, do the words internment camp is it still a sore spot and is still talked about in very hushed tones?
Actually, the current Japanese generation and my generation or younger generation maybe don't know about Japanese internment camps at all.
So then if they don't know, does the older generation try to educate the younger generation, teach them about it?
Actually, the only Japanese American who are still living in California, in this country, they may have known about the history, but the Japanese in Japan do not have much opportunity to learn this.
Let's talk about then the Japanese who live here and the Japanese Americans who live here in America right now. And specifically, you even mentioned the younger generation. How does that strike you personally when that younger generation here really doesn't know about this and they have no idea of the history?
Actually, in my case, I was born and raised in Japan, but I came here to work for American company in New York Wall Street. So, and then I have known about the history of the Japanese American, the first generation and second generation, especially during the World War II. And I realized the Japanese internment camps is like a socialism policy, even though the Franklin Roosevelt was the popular president in this country.
We teach a lot about this in American history in the schools right now. Do they do the same in Japanese schools that teach the kids about these camps and what happened in World War II?
Unfortunately, in Japan, the history education, we don't follow the fact in detail.
That seems to really upset you, yes?
That's right. So that's why I was upset when I came here. And I realized the fact, especially during the staying the intern camps, the many Japanese Americans who are actually innocent and ordinary American, not alien, were forced to stay many years in camps, and many of them died of illness and also committed suicide because of no hope.
So, and let's just be clear that most people may not know this, but a lot of World War I veterans who fought for America at the time, who were of Japanese descent, they were forced into the camps as well. So you're right, it touched so many lives. So about a minute or so I have left here. When you hear, and you're in America all the time now, when you hear Donald Trump say he doesn't know whether he would have supported or opposed the internment of people in the camps, how does that strike you?
Actually, Mr. Trump, he used the Japanese internment camp as the good example to use. Actually, my impression is he doesn't know about the history correctly because he said maybe in the Time magazine he said sometimes you must implement questionable policy like internment camps, because in order to win the war. So now we in the war with the terrorism. That's why we need a questionable policy. However, the fact was contrary. So the Franklin Roosevelt began such kind of a questionable policy not after Pearl Harbor attack, but before the Pearl Harbor attack.
Yep.
He already began, released the private asset of Japanese American.
And unfortunately, we're going to have to stop it there because we are all out of time. But you are right, it is a questionable concept. But when you're at war, these things do happen. Yuki Oikawa, I want to thank you very much for your perspective. Stay with us. The Hard Line continues.